At my son's kindergarten graduation, my whole family sat in the front row for my nephew. My son whispered, "Why is Grandma not watching me?" I squeezed his hand. "It's okay, buddy. After the ceremony, I didn't confront anyone. I just stopped contributing to the family vacation fund I've been secretly funding solo when they arrived at the resort in Cancun and were told the $18,000 reservation was canceled. At my son's kindergarten graduation, my whole family sat in the front row for my nephew. They had Team Ethan iron-on shirts, a big glitter sign with his name, and my mom was holding a bouquet of sunflowers like it was a high school commencement. My son, Lucas, and I stood in the back trying to find 2 empty chairs. He was in his little blue cap and gown, the sleeves a bit too long. He kept standing on the hem because he was so excited he couldn't stop bouncing. I finally spotted 2 seats in the second row, all the way to the side. The front row in the center had jackets and purses spread across every chair. My sister waved at me. "Oh, Dean, we saved these for Ethan's grandparents and godparents," she called. Like that explained everything. There should be room over there. Over there was the space for overflow families. We sat. Lucas sat on the edge of his chair, craning his neck to see around the woman in front of him. I watched his eyes sweep over the first row. My parents, my sister, her husband, his parents, all in those matching shirts. Not one person looked back. When the principal started calling names, my heart was already in my throat. "Ethan Miller!" My family exploded. My mom jumped to her feet, cheering like he'd just won a championship. My dad whistled. My sister filmed on her phone. Zoomed in so far you could probably see Ethan's fillings. The sign went up, shaking in my dad's hand. 2 names later, Lucas Carter. Silence from the front row. I clapped, loud and sharp, but it sounded small compared to what they'd just done for Ethan. A stranger behind us clapped too, then another. Lucas walked across the stage, clutching his rolled paper, searching the audience. His eyes slid right past my parents. They weren't even looking. When he shuffled back to his spot on the risers, he leaned toward me, voice barely there. "Why is Grandma not watching me?" My chest actually hurt. I squeezed his hand where it rested on my knee. "It's okay, buddy," I whispered. "I see you. I'm watching." He nodded, but his shoulders dropped under the little gown. He stopped bouncing after that. I didn't get up. I didn't walk over and cause a scene. I sat there through the songs and the slideshow, watching my mom record every second of Ethan and somehow never once pan the camera to the row where my kids stood. On the way out, my sister pressed a cupcake into Lucas's hand and a giant helium balloon into Ethan's. "He already had one," she said quickly when she saw my face. "We just grabbed whatever was left." The balloon said, #1 grad. Ethan's, not Lucas's. I buckled my son into his booster in the parking lot. He stared at Ethan's balloon floating above the next car over. "Do you think Grandma will watch me next time?" he asked. I swallowed so hard it hurt. "We'll make sure we have our own cheering section next time," I said. "How does that sound?" He thought about it. "Can Aunt Bree come? She yells loud." I laughed, but it came out tight. "Yeah, buddy, Aunt Bree can definitely come." I didn't confront anyone that day. I hugged my parents, said thanks for coming, like I hadn't just watched them ignore their other grandson on purpose. Then, I went home and quietly blew up the life they were used to. I'm Dean. I'm 39. I live in San Antonio, but my territory stretches across half of South Texas. I'm a regional sales manager for Coca-Cola. That means I spend too much time in my car, know way too many gas station bathrooms, and can walk into any grocery store in the area and tell you, without looking, which shelf our products should be on. I'm also a divorced dad to one 6-year-old boy who thinks the height of luxury is the vending machine at my office. My younger sister, Kayla, is the golden child. Stay-at-home mom to Ethan and his little sister. Married to a guy who works in IT and doesn't really believe in brands, but is always happy to drink my free product samples. My parents live 15 minutes from them and 30 from me. Somehow, that distance became a metaphor for everything else. For the last 5 years, I've also been the family vacation fund. That's what my mom calls it. Cute, harmless. You know, everyone throws in what they can, she said when we first started it. We just funnel it into that one savings account so it's easier. Everyone throws in what they can. That's how, in her mind, it became totally reasonable that I was transferring $500 every month. My brother chipped in $50 at Christmas. if he remembered, and my parents contributed by choosing the resort. Last year's beach rental, my card. The Disneyland trip, for the grandkids, my credit. The new patio set they needed so we'd have somewhere to hang out on summer evenings. You guessed it. I didn't mind at first, honestly. I grew up watching them scrape by. My dad was a mechanic. My mom worked part-time at a daycare. When my career took off, it felt good to be able to take care of them. But somewhere along the way, helping turned into expectation. I was the one they called when the air conditioning died. When Kayla's SUV suddenly needed new tires right before a road trip, I got the text, "Can you cover it and we'll pay you back when we can?" They never could. When my dad slipped on the stairs and needed dental work, I swiped my card before the receptionist even finished asking how we'd like to pay. I didn't keep score. They did. Just not the way I expected. Lucas, my son, doesn't live with me full time. He's with me every other week and long weekends. His mom and I get along okay, all things considered. We text about homework and fevers and who's bringing juice boxes to T-ball. My parents never fully forgave me for the divorce. They liked my ex, at least in the way that confirmed their belief that I'd outkicked my coverage and should be grateful anyone put up with me. When Lucas was a baby, they visited sometimes. They brought outfits and toys, took pictures. As he got older and the vacation fund became a thing, the visits got more selective. They forgot his third birthday, but called that same day to ask if I'd booked the condo for the family beach week. At Christmas, Ethan got a kid-sized electric truck he could sit in and drive. Lucas got a puzzle from the dollar aisle. "Oh, we didn't know what he was into these days," my mom said. "We see Ethan all the time, but with you being so busy." I was too busy stocking shelves in Waco and Austin and Laredo so they could sit under an umbrella in Cancun once a year. That's just how grandparents are, I told myself. He's little. He won't notice. He noticed. He noticed when my parents posted "so proud of our little grad" with a picture of Ethan in his cap and gown and cropped the shot so you couldn't see Lucas' two kids over. He noticed when my dad introduced Ethan as my grandson to his friends at church, then added, "And this is Dean's boy," when Lucas stepped forward. He noticed when they made matching Teen Ethan shirts and nothing for him. I saw every one of those moments. I filed them away, covered them with excuses, and kept paying the bills. They'd been punishing me ever since I refused to help with one thing, a cruise. 2 years ago, my mom called with that tone, the "I've already decided what you're going to say yes to" tone. "There's a Caribbean cruise next spring," she said. "All the cousins are thinking of going. It would be so special. We figured you could cover a big chunk from the vacation account, then people can reimburse you." I was still sitting on medical bills from Lucas's ear surgery. My car had just needed a new transmission. I was already sending more than I should. "I can't swing it this time, Mom," I said, "not on top of everything else. Maybe a cheaper trip next year." She went quiet, then said coolly, "Well, I guess we'll figure something out." The something they figured out was simple. I stopped being the favorite son, and Lucas stopped being a real grandkid. They didn't say it out loud, not then. They just let it drip out in comments and omissions. Until the graduation. After the ceremony, my whole body buzzed like I'd had 6 energy drinks in a row. Parents and kids poured out into the courtyard. Balloons bobbed above the crowd. Teachers posed for pictures. Someone's baby was crying. Ethan ran straight into my parents' arms, his tassel bouncing. "You were amazing," my mom gushed. "First kindergarten grad in the family." Lucas walked up quietly and slipped his hand into mine. My parents didn't even glance down. "Lucas, buddy, stand there," I said, pointing to a spot by the school sign. "Let's get a picture." Kayla laughed. "Oh, let's do all the kids." She lined up Ethan and his little sister front and center. Lucas ended up on the end, half cut off. My dad handed Ethan the bouquet. "Hold this up for Grandma, champ," he said. Lucas watched the flowers move away like something he'd miscounted. I caught Bree's eye, my cousin, the loud one Lucas liked. She raised her phone, snapped a picture just of Lucas, then gave me a look. "You okay?" I nodded once. We left before cake. On the drive home, Lucas chattered about the songs they'd sung and how his tassel tickled his ear. He didn't mention the front row. He didn't have to. As soon as I dropped him at his mom's, she met us on the porch, arms wide, bragging about him like he just cured cancer. I drove home fast enough that I had to remind myself I had a company logo on my car. I walked straight past the sink full of dishes, past the pile of laundry on the couch, into my little home office. The folder with vacation fund on the cover was right where I'd left it. Flight confirmations, resort emails, a printed photo of the huge pool at the Cancun resort my parents had picked this year like they were choosing a throne. 7 nights, 2 ocean view suites, family reunion package, total cost $18,204.17. Paid in full on my card, with reimbursements supposedly coming out of the fund account I'd set up at my bank. I'd been transferring $500 a month for 2.5 years. Once I ran the numbers, 90% of what was in that account was mine. No one else was going to pay me back if things went sideways. I sat down, logged into my bank, and clicked on the family vacation savings account. The balance stared back at me. $18,447.39. My stomach flipped. That number was bigger than a trip. It was every time I'd said yes when I should have said no. Every extra route I'd driven, every overnight I'd taken, every birthday party I'd missed, because work is busy right now, and we'll have time later. For people who couldn't be bothered to turn their heads while my son walked across a gym floor, I clicked transfer. Moved the entire balance into my personal savings. The screen flashed for a second, then refreshed. New balance, 0 cents. My hands shook. Not with guilt, with something that felt like standing up too fast after sitting for years. Next, I pulled up the resort reservation email. There was a manage booking link. For a second, I hesitated. I could hear my mom's voice in my head. You can't punish everyone over a misunderstanding. Ethan will be heartbroken. Then Lucas's whisper, "Why is Grandma not watching me?" I clicked. A page came up with options. Modify dates, add guests, cancel reservation. The cancel button was bright red. Of course it was. I pressed it. A warning popped up. Are you sure? Cancellation may result in fees according to your rate plan. My phone buzzed on the desk. Mom, already sending pictures of Ethan basking in compliments, probably. I turned it face down. Yes, I'm sure, I confirmed. A loading circle spun. Then the message, your reservation has been canceled. Refund, $18,204.17 to original form of payment within 7-10 business days. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. There, that was it. No screaming, no long speech. Just done. Then I went back into my banking app and deleted the automatic transfer to the vacation account. I removed my parents' online access. I changed the nickname from Family Vacation Savings to Lucas and Dad Adventures. It felt stupidly symbolic, but I kept it. I didn't tell anyone. When my mom texted that night, "Send some pics of Lucas from today," I forgot to get one with him. It was so hectic. I turned my phone over again and went to bed. They found out 3 weeks later. The trip was in June, scheduled right after school let out. I'd originally booked my own flights on Miles and planned to fly down a day early for a regional meeting, then coincidentally stay on with the family. After I canceled the resort, I canceled those flights too. Instead, I booked a cheap little beach motel in Corpus Christi for the same week, 2 double beds, a pool Lucas would think was massive, and a view of the parking lot. He wouldn't care. It would be ours. The night my parents were supposed to land in Cancun, my phone started buzzing during dinner. Lucas and I were eating mac and cheese straight out of the pot, sitting on the floor because he'd decided the table was too formal. Mom, Dad, Kayla, all calling one after another. I ignored them at first. Then I turned the ringer off. Lucas was telling me a very serious story about a snail he'd found at recess. "Do you think snails get lonely?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "But maybe they're just happy going slow and minding their own business." He nodded like that made perfect sense. My phone vibrated across the counter like it was trying to launch itself. I put Lucas in the bath, sat on the edge of the tub while he made mountains out of bubbles, and finally checked my voicemail. The first message was my mom. I could hear airport noise in the background. "Dean, what is going on? We're at the desk and they're saying there's no reservation. They said it was canceled and refunded. The kids are tired. We have all our luggage. Call me back right now." The second was my dad. His voice was tight. "Son, you need to fix this. They're saying the card was refunded and there's no availability now at the same rate. We can't afford the difference. This is not funny. The third was Kayla, already crying angry tears. I told the kids we were staying in a suite with a swim-up bar. Do you know how embarrassing this is? All the cousins are posting their vacation photos and we're standing here in the lobby like idiots. You can't cancel a family trip without telling anyone. I pictured them there, my mom clutching her carry-on, my dad red in the face, Kayla on the verge of a meltdown because the Instagram story she planned wasn't happening. I didn't feel bad. I felt proportionate. When Lucas was in pajamas and tucked in with his stuffed dinosaur, I sat at the kitchen table and called my mom back. She answered on the first ring. "Dean, thank God. They said there must have been a mistake. You'll just have to call your bank and—" "There's no mistake," I said. Silence. "What do you mean? I canceled the reservation." "Why would you do that?" Her voice went shrill. "We're standing in a foreign country with 2 small children. Your father is exhausted. You embarrassed us." I almost laughed. "You're worried about being embarrassed?" I asked. "You didn't seem embarrassed when you sat in the front row and pretended Lucas didn't exist at his graduation." "That is not the same thing," she snapped. "You're right," I said. "He's 6. He's a child. He's allowed to be selfish sometimes. You're adults. You chose this," she spluttered. "We didn't choose anything. It was hectic. We couldn't sit everywhere at once. You're blowing this out of proportion." "You saved 8 seats for Ethan's family," I said. "You couldn't save 1 for me and my son. You screamed and cheered and waved a sign for him. You didn't even clap for Lucas." I heard my dad in the background asking what I was saying. My mom lowered her voice. "You're being ridiculous. We love Lucas. We just see Ethan more, that's all. You know we rely on you for these trips. You can't change things at the last minute just to—" "There's the problem," I cut in. "You rely on me. You don't ask. You don't consider. You just assume I'll pay and you can treat my kid like a backup." "That's not fair. That's exactly what's happening." She went quiet. "Look," she said finally, "we're here. We can't just not have somewhere to stay. Just rebook it. Use the card. We'll figure the rest out later. Don't punish everyone because your feelings are hurt." There it was. I stared at the grain of the kitchen table. "I'm not your backup bank anymore," I said calmly. "The vacation fund is done. You're off my accounts. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of." "You can't do that." "I already did." My dad grabbed the phone. "Dean," he said, voice low, the way he used to talk when I dented the car as a teenager. "Don't be dramatic. Call the resort and tell them there was a mistake. Take the hit on the fees. That's what men do. They take care of their family." "I am," I said. "My family is a 6-year-old boy asleep in the next room. I'm going to take him to the beach next week, and I'm going to sit in the front row for whatever he does for the rest of his life. That's it." "You're really choosing her over us?" he asked. "Your son from that woman and her mess." "I'm choosing my son over your vacations," I said. "If that's a problem, we don't have anything else to talk about," he cursed under his breath. I hung up. The calls kept coming that night. I turned off my phone and watched an episode of some cooking show on mute while I cleaned up the kitchen. Lucas woke up once, shuffled in rubbing his eyes. "Daddy, why are you still awake?" he yawned. "Just making sure everything's ready for our trip, buddy," I said, ruffling his hair. His face lit up. "Do they have a pool?" "They do." "Can we get ice cream every day?" "We'll see," I said, smiling. "Probably." It didn't end there. The next morning, my sister sent a wall of text. "You are unbelievable. The kids are devastated. Mom is crying. Dad is furious. Everything's booked. You ruined our vacation because you're salty about a seat." I stared at it, then typed, "You ruined my son's graduation because you're salty I didn't pay for a cruise. It's not about a seat. It's a pattern. I'm done paying for it." She shot back, "Wow. So Bree was right. You really are turning into a hurt and angry." Seeing Bree's name made me pause. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Bree? She'd sent a photo from graduation. Lucas mid-smile, eyes on me, no one else in the frame. "For what it's worth, I saw what they did," she wrote. "If you need someone to scream at the next school thing, I've got PTO and a big mouth." My eyes stung. "Thanks," I wrote. "We're going to the coast next week. You and the girls want to come for a day?" Lucas would lose his mind. She answered with a storm of exclamation marks. We ended up caravanning down, me and Lucas in my company SUV, Bree in her beat-up minivan with her teenagers and a trunk of snacks. The motel was as cheap as it looked. Tiny pool, heavy chlorine, sand in the drains. Lucas thought it was paradise. We didn't do anything fancy. Waffles from the lobby, shells in a plastic bucket, my hand in his as the waves hit his knees. Grocery store sandwiches, cartoons with sunburned noses. One evening, Bree and I sat in plastic chairs while the kids built a crooked sandcastle. "You know they're telling everyone you sabotaged them," she said. I figured. "They're saying you canceled out of nowhere, that you've always been unstable." She rolled her eyes. "But my mom told Aunt June about graduation. People are putting it together." "I'm tired of explaining myself," I said. "You don't have to," she shrugged. "People saw more than you think. On our last night, we grilled hot dogs on a rusty beach grill. Fireflies floated over the grass. Lucas fell asleep in my lap, sticky and warm, smelling like salt and smoke. I looked down at him and thought, this is what the money is for. Not all-inclusive resorts and my mom's poolside cocktails. For this kid, his memories. For us, back home the fallout settled. My parents skipped Lucas's first-grade open house. No call on his first day, no send-a-picture texts. But one hot Saturday in August, they pulled up while I was washing my Coca-Cola red car. "Dean, we need to talk," my dad said. I set down the sponge. "Okay, about what?" "The way you've been acting," my mom said, "cutting us off, embarrassing us. People are asking questions." "Good," I said. "Maybe they'll finally get answers." "We didn't do anything wrong," she snapped. "You overreacted. You sat in the front row for Ethan and pretended Lucas wasn't there," I said. "You've done that in different ways for years. I'm not funding that anymore." "That trip wasn't just for us," my dad said. "You punished Ethan and the kids." "I canceled a luxury vacation," I replied. "You canceled a relationship with your grandson. One of those is replaceable." "Family doesn't do this," my mom said, eyes wet. "Family doesn't walk away over money. Family also doesn't treat a 6-year-old like an afterthought," I said. "But here we are." My dad folded his arms. "So that's it? You're cutting us off? Financially?" "Yes. You're off my accounts. No vacation fund. No helping out a bit," I said. "If you want to be in Lucas's life, you show up for him. Not just for Ethan. Not just when there's a trip involved. And if we don't want to play by your rules," my mom asked, "then you don't see him," I said. "I'm not putting him in rooms where he has to ask why his grandparents aren't watching." "You'll regret this when we're gone," my dad said. I pictured Lucas on the beach, laughing on a boogie board. Him whispering in that gym. "Maybe," I said, "but I won't regret protecting my kid." They left quietly. The silence after was loud. My brother stuck to memes and sports, never mentioning our parents. Kayla posted about letting go of toxic people and shared an old shot of Ethan at graduation with our whole world under it. I blocked her. The people who mattered moved closer. Bree came to Lucas's fall festival and yelled so loud at the ring toss the principal laughed. Lucas started calling that strip of coast our beach in his drawings. The little motel pool showed up in crayon over and over. In December, when the school put on a winter concert, I got there early and took a front row seat. I saved 2 spots with our coats, one for Bree, one that stayed empty. She slid in just before the lights dimmed, handing me candy canes and Lucas a scarf she'd knitted. Halfway through, Lucas spotted us. His whole face lit up. He waved so hard he nearly smacked the kid next to him. Bree waved back like she was directing traffic. He sang off-key and loud, every word. Afterward, he ran into my arms. "Did you see me? Did you hear me?" "I saw you the whole time," I said, hugging him. "Front row, remember?" "You were the star, kiddo," Bree added. On the way out, I glanced at the rows behind us. Grandparents, parents, kids, scanning for their people. There was no one left for me to impress. Just my son's hand in mine in a future where he never has to wonder if he deserves a seat at the front. At home, he dug a crumpled program from his backpack. "Can we put this on the fridge?" he asked. "So you don't forget when I was a snowflake." "I'm never forgetting that," I said. I smoothed it and stuck it next to his kindergarten diploma and his drawing of a beach with 2 stick figures. On top of the fridge, pushed back, was an old framed first grandchild photo of Ethan. I took it down, slid the picture out, and put it in a box of things that don't fit our life anymore. Then I printed Bree's photo of Lucas from graduation, mid-smile, eyes on me, and slipped it into the frame. I set it in the center of the mantel. My son, my family, my front row.